Hello. For those of you that have been viewing my videos, you know my name, but for those of you that haven't, my name is Stephen, Dr. Stephen Hairfield, and I'm just turning on another light. And as most of you know, I do predictions for every year. And this year is going to be a fascinating year for humankind. Every time I do my predictions, I give the year so to speak, in one word. Last year, 2011, I called it the year of unrest. And if we look back historically, well, we see the results of that. This year, the idea of 2012, as we approach the mythical Maya date of December 21st, 2012, is going to be a year of great change and transformation. So be advised of that. And the only question is how we're going to go about it. We don't really have a choice as a world and as a civilization, and that means all of us. It remains to be seen how December 21st, 2012 is actually going to play out. But between now and then, that's actually what I'm going to talk with you about. So this year is a year of transformation and great change. 2012 is going to be fascinating in a variety of ways. Because if we look at the world now, it's a different place than it was just a few short years ago. All of that being said, let us begin. And the first thing I'm going to talk about this year, or in this particular video, is humankind, civilization. What we've seen from last year is going to continue to increase. The Maya tell us that we have two directions or two paths that we could take. One is we remain as individuals, not working together. Should that be the case, and I do think it will, we're going to have an extremely intriguing year. The second path that Maya talk about is if we work as a collective, if we unify ourselves with the idea of consciousness in each other and work together through this year. That would be the simplest path. But my concern is that's not what's going to take place. That being said, the idea of unrest and people against power and control is going to continue to rise, especially as we get into the summer months of this year. We're going to see disagreements all over the place between individuals and governments to a greater extent than we've ever seen. That being said, we humans don't change easily, when in actuality we could, because change is the only constant that's available to us. Is this the end of the world? No. That's impossible. We've heard Christianity and other factions talking about the end of the world for years. But if we do take a look, the way we've always done things is being cut off. Let me ask you, what economies are working? What governments are working? What corporations are really working? What about healthcare, churches, education? Where in the world is that actually working? The point is all of that is evolving into a different dynamic. We are one way or the other going to connect fully and realize the idea of consciousness and divine nature of human. And that's the real crux of what 2012 is about. To get us there is we've chosen the difficult road. Is it too late to change it? No, it's not. But the question becomes, can we all work together? If not, then what we're going to find is the continued increase in the unrest of human individuals. We're going to see human behavior radically change from kindness, compassion, and loving to almost anger, frustration, and even to some extent meanness in human beings. So that's the crux of the human experience this year. Now, let's look at the economy. The window on the economy is going to open up, and I'm going to attempt to give dates in a lot of this as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to refer to it as windows of opportunity. I think when we get into the latter part of spring, mid to latter part of spring, as in late April into May, we could see a global economic collapse. We're already seeing the workings of that anyway. How much money can you throw at a system that just isn't working anymore? Yet the governments are going to continue to do that. But there's going to become a tipping point, and I think that tipping point we're looking at around the end of April, as they say, into May. What will that do to the global economy? That remains to be seen. It could be anything from a global depression to a new way of doing business. And it's my hope that we make it into the new way of doing business with each other. You see, the individual in our world doesn't matter anymore, and the individual is starting to exert itself because it is the most important thing. I mean, after all, what supports the economies of the world anyway? Isn't it the individual? Don't you, as an individual, buy an automobile? Don't you take out loans to buy a home? Yes, it's the individual that is the most significant thing. And when we come to that realization, our path may become easier. So we've talked about the human experience, and I've shared with you the idea of the global economies. In fact, I heard on the news this morning that our president is asking Congress to raise the debt ceiling by another $1.2 trillion. How far in debt do we all have to go before we end up having to pay for it? Well, we're looking at it probably around the latter part of April, as I say, into May. And then it'll be interesting to see what happens with the idea of money and monetary systems. It's my sense that that's going away. The only question is how that's going to play out. So late April into May, that window of opportunity on the economy will show itself. Next, let's talk about Mother Nature because she's become extremely intriguing at best. My prediction for this year is we're going to see the upper Midwest, like Montana, South Dakota, Eastern Washington, even my own state of Nevada. We're not going to have the snowfall that we're accustomed to. In fact, if we have any winter at all, it'll be short-lived and it will come in late. But the good news about those areas is they won't have the flooding that they experienced last year. But you see, to me, the weather dynamics are actually shifting from what we have always been accustomed to. It's my sense that tells me that the areas of the world, or our part of the world anyway, that are going to get the most snow is going to be the northeastern United States and the southeastern United States. It's my sense that says the southeastern United States is going to see the coldest temperatures that they've had on record, and I think they're also going to get record levels of snowfall in places, by the way, that do not ordinarily get snow. I'm talking like Florida, all the way down to the Gulf Coast. They're going to be seeing record levels of snow. And then when we look at the lower Midwest, we will also see the same thing. But as far as the northern part of the United States and the central part, I would say very little, at least not what we're accustomed to. Now that we've covered that area, even I'm going to go so far as to say in Northern Europe, places like Denmark, Norway, they're not going to see the types of snows that they historically record. And I would even go so far as to say that that would even equate to Russia, who is well known for having heavy snows in the northern hemisphere. That's going away. And I think we're going to see it more often in the southern parts of those same continents. I think areas of the country and world that are not accustomed to seeing things like monsoons and monsoon rains, they could easily see those coming. Record levels of rainfall in areas that are usually arid and dry. I think you're going to see that this year. The next thing I'm going to say to you about Mother Nature is she's becoming unpredictable. Even the meteorologists are acknowledging that they're seeing weather patterns to the likes that they've never seen. And as this year progresses, that's going to continue to increase. We're going to see things like hurricanes, typhoons, cyclones, as they're known in some parts of the world, in areas where they have never seen. Come on, even Alaska this year had the first recorded, so to speak, hurricane. They don't call it that, but what do you call 100-mile-an-hour winds when they hit the land? We're going to even see the potential of hurricanes hitting the Pacific coast as opposed to the southeastern United States. And even countries that have never seen those types of things before are going to receive them this year. Not only that, I think we're going to see major, major storms that are going to cause high levels of devastation and in places where they do not ordinarily belong. We saw last year tornadoes in the southeastern United States. Meteorologists said they had the same weather dynamics as you would find in the upper Midwest. And speaking of tornadoes, tornado season hasn't stopped for the last 3 years, and it's not this year. at all. There's not going to be any lull in it anywhere. And I think even the frequency of tornadoes is going to increase. And also, like last year, in places where they do not ordinarily show up. I think we're going to see them all over the southeastern United States, places where once more they just absolutely do not occur. We're going to even see things like tropical storms and even the potential of hurricanes forming right over land or right on land, so that you don't have that much of a warning. You could almost say that this year, especially as we progress into the year, the size of storms and the magnitude of storms is going to be actually huge. I mean, a Category 5 hurricane is an example, I believe, has winds at 175 miles an hour. What do you call something that has winds of 200 miles an hour? We are looking at that potential this year in a variety of places around the globe. And the United States is not going to be impervious to any of that. So the places that, like in the northern tier states, that usually get a lot of moisture, they're not going to get that this year. They're going to find that in the southeastern United States and even the southern United States. But the ordinary places, even right here, I have 10,000-foot peaks right out my window. There's absolutely zero snow. And I don't foresee any great amounts of snowfall on those mountains this year, which is going to be interesting for the water supply. Now let's talk about flooding for a moment. It was said by me last year we would see record flooding in a lot of places that do not ordinarily occur. We did indeed see that. We're going to see the flooding this year, I think, is mainly going to be in the northeastern United States and the southeastern United States. The Midwest should be relatively free and easy as far as flooding goes this year. And in other parts of the world, I think we're going to see flooding all over the place in places where they do not ordinarily experience flooding because of the massive types of rain that we're going to be witnessing. Is this global warming? No, actually, it really isn't. I humorously refer to it as global warming. Um, Now that we've covered human, we've covered the economy, and we've covered weather patterns. Um, and by the way, as far as things like tornadoes go, before I continue, once more, places that do not ordinarily get them are going to be getting them. And I'm talking about like in South America, I even feel like in Southern California, you're going to see tornadic activity. Even in the central valleys of California, you're going to see tornadic activity. Why? Because you see, the idea of 2012, once more, is not the end of the world. Let's look at it as more of a polarity shift or energetic shift. That being said, we have to remember that everything is energy first. Even a rock is energy first. But as those energetic fields begin to change and shift, that's going to be the greatest cause of what I'm talking about right now. That's why the weather dynamics are changing into what they are and to what they do. Now, let's talk about geology for a moment. This year, as last year, I'm going to offer specific dates, so windows of opportunity, if you will, where there's going to be an increase in seismic activity and potentially even magnitude. I would not be a bit surprised if we started, or when we start seeing, is what I should say, earthquakes with a magnitude of 10 and above. Remember, the Richter scale is open-ended, and we've already seen earthquakes over the last year of the magnitude and the likes that we've never seen, but they are going to still continue to increase as we move towards December the 21st, 2012. My first date for 2012 is March the 21st. We will see an increase in frequency and in magnitude. Now, that's the center of the window of opportunity. It can be a few days prior and a few days after, maybe even as much as of a week span, either before or after that date. The second date is June the 14th, 2012. The same thing, increase in magnitude and frequency of geologic activity. September the 8th, will be the third date, same thing, and December the 2nd, same thing. Um, it's because of the shifting dynamics of our planet. Now, I'm going to throw some interesting things out that I've never done this year. I would say the northeastern United States, be advised, in geologic activity, and it could be quite large. The second one I would say is going to be the New Madrid Fault in the center of the United States. I think both of these areas are going to become geologically active, and it just is going to depend on the size when these things come. I have a sense that the geologic activity this year is, in some areas of the world, is going to be quite devastating. Now, just like the tornadic activity and the hurricane activity, I'm going to say the same thing about geologic activity. We're going to start seeing those in places that we've never seen them before. We're already starting to see that in places like Oklahoma, Ohio, and they're attempting to attribute different things to what humankind is doing. If humankind is doing anything, it's just simply that Mother Nature is reflecting back to us what we ourselves are doing. And as we increase in that, I do believe there's a direct correlation between human and Mother Nature, human consciousness and Mother Nature. And it's only a question of which one is creating the other. Now, something else that I've never shared before now, and that's the month of October to me seems to be extremely significant. And I'm actually going to say that I think we have a very large solar flare that's going to be hitting our planet. Uh, and it only is going to depend on the size. If it's extremely huge, like the one that we had in 1867, which is recorded historically, it could knock out the entire power grid. So don't be totally surprised if some of the different areas of the world will lose power. Permanently, no. It will be disrupted quite heavily, though. Because we are getting into that window to where that magnitude of a solar flare could indeed take place. Now, as we approach the idea of 2012, especially as we get into the latter part of the summer, I believe you're going to see an increase of everything that I've shared with you today in the sense of what I've seen and what I feel is absolutely going to occur. I believe also that as we progress through this year, personal conflict from individual to individual is also going to start reaching a crescendo and a peak. What's the purpose of all of this? Let's just call it, simply put, a clearing of human consciousness from the idea of negativity. As shared in the beginning of this short video, it was said that the idea of 2012 was about transformation and awakening. And the idea of negative energy and negative forces contained within the individual must be released. And that is what the idea of 2012 is all about. And that's why the journey that's going to take us there is going to be rather tumultuous in human consciousness, human being, economically, Mother Nature-wise, which includes the geologic activities. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a year of awakening. Now, that we're at the end of this, I'd like to share this idea with you. I have my 2011 predictions still up on YouTube, and of course I'll leave them there. After you've listened to this, go back and view the predictions that were done for 2011. It's the first time that I have been that accurate on everything that was said, and that's not in a sense of being gloating. That actually even startled myself, because as an intuitive, I will claim that I'm about 70 to 75% accurate. But everything I've shared with you today, I feel is coming at us. The economy, I give that only about a 60% chance of actually occurring. The unrest in human beings, I would say I give that close to about an 85 to a 90, and the same with Mother Nature and geology. So sit back, reflect, and choose what it is that you wish to do for this year. And by the way, live your life normally in the best way possible. This isn't about fear. To me, it's just about a heads up. And once more, Stephen does this every single year. I'm also known as an American monk. I'm a remote viewer, and I see these things. Do I enjoy seeing them? No. Is this about instilling fear in any human being? The answer is also no. I would just like to share with people and give them a heads up. I would rather be totally 100% wrong and totally off base, but that remains to be seen how it all plays out. Thank you. I hope you enjoy this video. My name is Stephen, Dr. Stephen Hairfield. You can visit my website at www.hairfield.com. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate sharing. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.